All right, guys, welcome back to Pencil Leadership. Super excited for our guest today. You're in for a treat, an amazing story of just surviving through and growing through tough times to improve our mindset and outlook on life. Guys, today we have Brittany Folino from Canada. She is a bodybuilder. She competes in bodybuilding. She's a personal trainer, yoga teacher, and she's an entrepreneur in network marketing around the health and wellness field. But she's also addicted to development, growth, self-improvement, and her goal is to help people raise their self-awareness and change their mindset so they can grow and be successful. So Brittany, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. It's so nice to be on here with you. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. And Brittany and I actually are friends. We've known each other for a little while, and we actually work together a little bit. So I'm excited for her to share with you guys her story. So Brittany, yeah, I guess start there. Like, what's your story so people can hear and we can dig in there.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm the middle child actually of two. So I have two other sisters. One's 2 years older, one's 2 years younger. So yeah, I grew up here pretty much my whole life, but I moved around like a lot as a kid, like moved
Mm,
schools a lot, moved houses a lot. I think I actually like sat and took a moment to like count one day and I went to like a total, if I count like college and high school and stuff, I think
yeah.
it actually calculated up to like 12 or 13 schools.
Jeez. Were you
So
military or just
sorry.
was it like military reasons or
Um no,
like
we just
parents?
moved a lot. We just moved a
Wow.
lot. Yeah. And yeah, so like I always say to people, like I had to learn from a young age how to like I'm super independent and a lot of people
Mm,
are like where do you get that like independence from? Like you do everything like on your own and you just like do things. And I'm like, honestly, I honestly just think it's because of like how I was brought up. So like
mm.
from a young age, I literally had to learn from like literally being a baby, like a kid, with no self-awareness whatsoever. To just like learn like I didn't have a choice. It was kind of forced on me. Like I had to learn how to adapt to change and new circumstances, new environments, new people. Like I never got to be one of those kids who went to the same school their whole life and got to have the same best friends from kindergarten to like high
Yeah.
school. Like I had so many friends that had that. And like I remember as I got older, went to high school, I felt kind of like lonely in the sense that I wish that I had that. Like I wish that I had those like old school friendships. Cause like I would hang out with people who they're like their best friend is like since grade 1 or 2. And then they would
Yep.
hang out with me and they'd tell me like, do you remember that time in grade 1 when like,
Uh,
and I would just be like they'd reminisce together. And I just remember like always kind of feeling left out because I never got to experience that like as a kid in life.
yep.
Um, so but then like the older that I got like now to this day, I'm 29 now by the way. I just like look back and appreciate it so much more because it's really like molded me, I think, into like um the person I've become. And people are always like, Brittany, like you're so strong, like how are you such a strong person? And like honestly think that's a big part of it too.
Mm,
I had to learn how to like let go like at a younger age than most people too.
yeah.
Like I never got to like if I had a best friend and I loved him or her, like you know what I mean, I'd cry, but then I'd have to just move on. So I always had to just learn that process of like kind of coming and going. And I love people and I work with so many different people in so many different fields.
Yeah.
um and I honestly think like that's another aspect that's just like added to that is like because I've always had to just kind of
Mm,
um adjust to that. And obviously as a kid change is so hard, right? Like
yep.
kids want to stay in their school and they want to play with the same friends at recess. And they want to be able to celebrate like their graduations together and all that. Yeah, but for me it was just like all it was always changing. That's all I ever really knew. um and I think that like I think that I handled it really well. Another big factor to take in is the fact that like I come from a really close knit family. So like
Okay.
I'm an Italian background. So if you know about Italian,
Yeah.
they're all about family. So we're like super super close. And like fortunately I had like a lot of friends growing up who would always tell me that they like hated their siblings and they would
Mm,
fight all the time. They're just mean to each other. They didn't want anything to do with their siblings. And I honestly feel bad for those people because like, my relationship with my siblings are like so good. They're literally like my best friends.
That's awesome.
And I wish like everyone had that. Like I'm just so grateful that I have that, because for me, it's like change has always been a constant in my life, right? Like always having the change, never really being able to keep friends. But the one thing that was constant throughout all those times of change that I was constantly experiencing is like family. Like that's
Mm,
always been the only constant.
yeah.
And so I think like that's another thing that has made us so close, like as a family, is because even though everything was always changing around us, circumstances, people, like we always
Mm,
had each other in the end.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm like really grateful for that. And it's like kept me really grounded, and like obviously adds to like a big part of like who I am. And treating other people like, you know, like family as well. And a lot of
Mhm.
people, they come into my home and they're just like, oh my God, your family is just so close. And I wish I had that. And it's just so funny. A lot of people will be like, I wish I had that. Whereas when I was younger, I was like, I wish I had that, like the friendship, right? But
Perspective. Yep.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, but like obviously like family is just family is so important. And you can always make friends family too, if that's
Yeah.
not the case. Um, so yeah, then just kind of going into high school. High school, I think, was the longest I actually stayed in one place. So the
Oh,
full
wow.
4 years. Didn't change high
Nice.
schools. Every other place was like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Um, so yeah, high school was like the one place I stayed for like the whole 4 years. Um, and high school was like really tough for me. I never
Mm,
understood people that I ran into who were like, oh, like I can't wait for you to go to high school. You're going to love it. It's going to be the best 4 years of your life. I hated high school.
oh,
I just, um, it was really hard. Like you go through so much, and like I really feel for high school students today. I wish I could actually like be more a part of like high school communities, to be there
yeah.
like as a mentor for these like adolescents and these teenagers, because I honestly like I felt like I went through a difficult time in high school. But like when I think about how the world is now and how much it's advanced since I've left high school, which was like in 2009,
Yep.
the world has changed so much since then,
Yeah.
right? And it's like these kids have even more um just like stress and overstimulation and things that they have to deal with, and pressures that we had, but it's like 10 times worse, I think.
Mm,
um and I just remember like being that kind of that I was kind of like a solo person all the time, just like always on my own. And probably because I changed schools so much
yeah.
throughout my life, I just kind of like, I even had friends kind of nickname me. They're like, you're like the lone wolf. Um, and like for a long time, I hated that. Like it made me sad, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then I got to a point where I got older and I just owned it. I almost swore. But like
Nice.
I literally just owned it. I was like, yeah, I am the lone
That's
wolf.
it,
Like,
yeah.
that makes me more powerful because I don't need to travel in a pack. Like I'm just confident and cool being that like lone
Mm,
wolf, you know? So it's all about like how you perceive things really, right? Like one of my favorite authors always talks about how our life and our circumstances and everything around us, a huge ordeal comes back down to the fact of your conception of yourself, right?
mm,
So
yep.
I think like in high school, I just had a really poor conception of myself. I had low self-esteem. I would think that I was kind of like a loner. I kind of felt like I was just different from everyone else. Like I always felt like everyone had things in common. Everyone was the same. And I always just kind of felt like the one random person who just like couldn't relate to anyone or anything. So
Mm,
I always just kind of felt like I guess like a black sheep. Um, and I found it hard to fit in. Like I just
yeah.
never felt like I could fit in with like anything or anyone, even like trends. I always just felt like really, really different, but I never understood why. Um, and I'm at the point like now in my life, obviously being older, where like I'm so grateful for all of the things that make me different, and I know what they are now. Like I know what it is.
Yeah.
Um, but like when you're like that younger age, right? Like and you're in high school, you don't understand why, and you kind of see it as like a bad thing or like a weakness or like something's wrong with you because you can't
Definitely.
relate to anyone else, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, and like I think it's also because like people were very attached to like their friends and wanting to be like everyone else, whereas I was the opposite. I didn't want to be like everyone else. I always wanted to be like my own person, and I
Yeah.
always had like a very strong sense of like I guess like self-awareness. Like I was always like really in tune with myself, and that's probably a big reason why I didn't feel like I could relate to everyone, because a lot of people didn't have like a strong sense of self-awareness. Um it was more like people were always seeking external validation,
Mm,
and I feel like I've never really like been that person that's like really needed that.
that's
Um
good. Yeah.
yeah. And I think like that's also because of like, all the times I had to change, like I just had to learn to like have that already without needing it from what's happening outside of me, right?
Right.
Um and so, I felt like a lost soul. I didn't really know, like that's another example, is like I didn't never knew what I wanted to do after high school, right? Like literally, I
Oh
literally
yeah.
remember grade 8. They're like, you got to already know if you want to go to university or college, because you got to pick applied or academic in high school. And I was just like,
Huh.
no, I'm not ready for this. Like like that just stressed me out like so much. And again, because I had a lower conception of myself, like I had lower self-esteem at the time, I was like, who am I to like think I'm academic, blah, blah, blah. I just like never held myself like at as high as a standard as I should have, especially on like an intelligent level, which is like so
Yeah.
silly,
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I like made my way through high school, but I never really knew what I wanted to do. I was always just kind of like how I am now. Like I've done everything, but it's because I never really knew. I'm like, haven't found it yet. Like I don't know what I want to go to university for. Like, how are you supposed to pick a career when you're 16 years old and they're like, this is what you want to do for the rest of your life till you're 65? Like
Yeah.
I literally would just cry over that probably every single day, because it
Mm,
stressed me out so much. Like I
yeah.
was like, how am I supposed to know right now, 16, 17, like what I
Right.
want to do for the rest of my life? Like I don't know. I
Yep.
don't like, it just gave me anxiety to like have to pick something, and they make you feel like you have to be like committed to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't
Yep.
change. Like you pick something and you go. And it's like, and university is a big commitment. Like the
Yeah.
program you pick it, you're in there for 4 years, like, right. And again, like I knew what my interests and hobbies and passions were. Like I was always like more artistic,
Mm,
as opposed to like scientific, I guess. Like in high
yeah.
school, I loved like English, I loved creative writing, speaking. I even liked like being on stage, like doing like acting and plays and
Yep.
singing and like all that kind of stuff. So I've always been like way more of a creative um like spirit.
Hmm.
but but again, like I didn't really know what I wanted to do, right? So
Right.
I kind of like took a year off high school and I worked full time, because like apparently that's what they tell you got to do in this world, and everyone just thinks. And that's why I love network marketing, but we'll get onto that topic later. But like school, I always say to people, like the school system needs to be updated. Like the curriculum is so old. Like
Hmm.
you go to school, you leave, you get a 9 to 5, and like that's it, the end. Like, no, that's not the way it goes. And like the
Right.
only reason that we think that is because it like our awareness is like this small. Like school just like limits it. And like there's so many other things that you can be doing to like earn income, to live a good life, to like actually do the things that you're passionate about, versus like being like, let me pick up this catalog and figure out what I want to go to school for. Like, no,
Yeah.
you don't need to do that. And you don't need to be that person, because like I remember being that person flipping through these catalogs and I was like, I don't want to do any of this. Like I am not a school person. Like this is not
Right.
what I want to do. I want to do something that I love and something that I'm passionate about. Um, and the same thing happened to me in the working world, like when I had to go to work. um, I literally had someone in an interview ask me once, like, why have you had so many jobs? Like, why have you had so many jobs in like short amounts of time? And I'm like,
Yep.
why? And I'm like, okay, this is a reflection of my childhood. Like
Mm,
I changed schools constantly. Like I never had to like commit to things that were like long term. It was always like change, change, change. So even jobs were like so easy for me to flee from, because change has never been uncomfortable for me like it is for
right.
most people. Like change is actually like comforting to me,
Hmm.
right? So even like with this whole
Yeah.
pandemic, I'm just like, I love it. Like I love change and I love adapting to change and I like moving. I like to keep like moving kind of like a butterfly or a bird. Like I don't like to stay in one place for a long time and it feels
Yeah.
like stagnant. Um and so yeah, so like literally I've been in hospitality, been in the corporate world, I've done administration, I've done retail. Like I've done it all. Um,
Hmm.
I worked out west, even in Alberta. I like moved there when I was 21 because I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm getting on a plane. Literally picked up all my stuff and moved like
Wow.
across the country. And I worked at a beautiful resort in Lake Louise. If you've never heard of that, do a quick Google search for Lake Louise.
I'll
It's
have to. I think I might have, but yeah.
yeah, it's just like incredible. But yeah, that was amazing. And I was there for like half a year before I came back to um Ontario. And I still was kind of just like, I still was like at that point, right? I never really like knew what I truly like wanted to pursue. And then after falling into like a really deep depression, really bad anxiety. That's kind of like what happened to me when I lived at Weston Y. A big reason why I moved back home, because my mental health just like hit this really bad um, decline. And I think like a huge part of it was like, I literally remember sitting outside, and I would be outside all the time there because it's just like a whole other world of beauty, like the Rocky Mountains, the color of the water is just like it's just incredible. And I would just like look at all the beauty around me, and I'd be like, well, like what's like there's just something missing all the time. You know what I mean? But I'd be like, I'm surrounded by all these incredible things, and I attracted this into my life. Like I totally manifested that. It was something I wanted, and it happened. But there was still just like something. Like I just wasn't fully satisfied, and I'd be working in the hotel, and I remember like having that conversation with my like self, being like, do I really want to do this forever? Do I really want to be like working 13-hour shifts, just like pouring people's drinks like forever? Like I literally felt like a slave. Like, never had time off. If you work in the hospitality industry, you would understand like what I mean and like how brutal it is. They work you to the bone. If you're drained, they don't care. So like literally was working on zero mental health. And I just like fell into like a really dark place from that. Like I was working so much that I literally wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping. I had really bad anxiety, really bad panic attacks. And I would just like drink all the time to like cope with all of the stuff that I was going through, and not even having time to like really cope in a healthy way. And yeah, like I literally developed like an eating disorder and substance abuse, and I just fell into like a really dark place. And like I literally remember having moments of like really dark just like suicidal thoughts, and not understanding like why I was having these thoughts, where these thoughts were coming from. And I just like felt like something was wrong with me. So once it got to the point where I was like, okay, this is not like, I literally need to seek help, because like now I'm at a place where like I literally couldn't help myself anymore. But I'm the kind of person that like literally ask anyone I know, anyone who tries to help me, I will like yell at them to get it. Like, nope, leave me alone. Don't help me. Don't give me advice. I'm like, no, like I literally won't even take it, even if I'm like suffering. Cause I've always been that person that's just so independent. I want to be able to figure out like literally the world, like on my own.
Yeah.
And I know that's like not always a good thing, but that's just like the kind of person I am. So it literally took me hitting rock bottom, like the deepest and the deepest of darkness, to like finally go and seek help, because like I wanted to be able to help myself and pull myself out of it. And it took so much like courage and strength to be I'm broken and like I can't put myself back together. Like it just took so much courage for me to actually admit that at that point. So thankfully I had the roommate that I was living with, like thank God that I had her. She was kind of like my saving grace. She was kind of like the angel on my shoulder.
That's awesome.
And she kind of like came with me to like these doctor's appointments when I went to seek help. And if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have really even gone. And like, who knows what would have happened. But yeah, I sought out help. And like, I just remember being on the phone with my mom and talking to her and crying to her and like not knowing what to do. And I realized at that point that I was like, okay, I'm not mentally stable. So I need to move back home where I actually have a support system, right? Because I was like, how can I do this? Like, I don't even have my family here. And I came to the conclusion that like, this isn't healthy anymore. Like I need to just go back home, get my feet on the ground, and like allow myself to have that support from the people who love me. Like that was another thing that was so hard for me. I almost like just wanted to push all help away, all love away, and just like sit in my suffering, like, right. And so
yeah, absolutely.
I was kind of like at a point where it was just so self-destructive. I was almost like addicted to the pain. Like I was almost like addicted to like being in that darkness, because I
Wow.
felt so consumed by it. And then I would just like identify that as like, this is who I am. Like,
Yeah.
this is just who I am. And I just became so lost in that for like a really long time. And then when I moved back home, I actually remember, I don't even know like how I really found it, but I started like researching kind of like just ways that I could potentially like kind of like help myself or heal myself. And I remember doing so much research on the time about like yoga
Yeah.
and chakras and energy work and deep breathing and meditation and just like and angels and law of attraction and like literally all of this stuff. And I'm like, thank God for that, because I ended up going into yoga. And obviously in the beginning when you're new at something, it's awkward and yourself
Yeah.
stuck and you have no idea what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Where you're putting your bodies in all these crazy shapes. I had zero flexibility whatsoever, like literally none. I had so much tension in my mind that it physically manifested into my body. I was just like so tight and locked up, literally like everywhere. I couldn't even touch my toes. But like the yoga literally helped me, like learning how to just like flow and move my body and like sync my breath and meditate. Like all those things are what brought me back to myself, you know, because I think when you're in a place where you're in like a deep, dark depression or you're having anxiety and panic attacks like I was, you're really just like so up here. You're just like so up in your head. And I had to learn how to get out of my head and into my heart, right?
Yeah.
Or like get out of my head and into my body, because I wasn't even in my body. Like I had like none anymore. I was just like so up here that I was just like going away. You know what I mean? I lost all sense of that, all sense of like really like myself. And yoga is just like what taught me how to ground, how to anchor, how to breathe. I didn't even know the proper way to breathe, hence panic attacks.
Right.
And it just like really helped me on so many levels. And I literally got to a point, like I remember being in a class where we were doing like these poses where, I don't know if you know anything about yoga.
A little bit, not much.
Okay, well, we were doing these poses and it was all like heart openers, right? So like heart openers, like back bends and stuff. Like open up your chest, you open up your shoulders. And I remember like this one class where I went to, I was so sad when I walked in, but yoga was just like such a healing place for me to like deal with what I was going through at the time.
For sure.
Especially because like I didn't talk to anyone about it, but like so yoga was kind of just like my therapy, basically.
Yeah.
It was like my therapist, and I would go and that was my sanctuary. So we were in this class doing like, it was all themed about heart openers and back bends and just like opening everything up, which is connected to, I don't know if you know about chakras, but like your heart chakra. And a lot of people create like heart walls, and this can be like energetically from just like things that happen in life. And I literally remember being at the end of the class and I literally felt like my heart had like cracked open. Like it was like energetically, and it was like the craziest thing. And I had like tears going down my cheeks. But at the same time, it was like really, really freeing. And then I got like super into chakras and dove into yoga like religiously, because I literally felt like it had saved me. I really felt like it took me from like being in darkness and pulled me up into like finding the light again, right? Because it like brought me back to like myself and brought me back to like feeling grounded, and just like the sense of like who I am, like at a soul kind of like spiritual level. And I think like a big part of depression, a lot of people go through that and then they have these like spiritual awakenings. So a big part of me feels like most people do hit a depression at one point or another in life, and like that's usually the point where you awaken to like that part of yourself,
right?
And it's crazy that it takes going to a dark place to get there, but again, it's like the phoenix rises from the ashes. And so I went from being in this like place where I was addicted to being self-destructive, and then transforming into being addicted to self-improvement and personal development. So I've literally gone from like black to white. Like
that's awesome.
And then after that I got like a really bad shoulder injury from yoga, actually. Because there was in yoga we talk about yang yin, which is balance of like masculine and feminine energies. But like, I was doing so much yoga and so much inversion, which is all like yang, like just so much like always like power, 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 and never stopping to like slow down.
Stillness.
I was like avoiding that stuff. and it manifested in a really bad shoulder injury. And I actually like tore my rotator cuff.
Oh no.
Literally, then I like feel like I took my destructiveness into my practice even.
Yeah.
Right? When I was using yoga to deal with it. So then it manifested into a physical injury where then I had no choice but to deal with it and sit with it because I literally couldn't do anything on my
Yeah.
hands or my arms anymore. And I remember being so mad at that injury for so long.
Right.
Until I had to learn to just be grateful for it because it taught me to like stop, like just stop. Like you need to
Yeah.
surrender because you can't deal, like you can't escape your depression. You can't escape your anxiety, no matter how much you work out, no matter how much yoga you do, no matter how much you travel the world. Like you can't run away from your problems. You can't run away from your emotions. You need to like literally sit and be still and surrender to feel them. Right. And like there's one saying that like feeling is healing. And I think a part of me thinks that like as a human, I mean, we come obviously with the whole spectrum of human emotions, but a part of me feels like as a human, feeling is like the hardest thing that we can allow ourselves to do. And I mean, like really letting yourself like feel things, like feel the hurt, feel the pain, feel whatever it is that you don't want to feel. But feeling is like what will allow you to heal. And it's like, stop fighting all of those things that you feel. Stop fighting the things that hurt you. Stop fighting those dark thoughts that you want to avoid. Like the only way to really, like transform and know yourself and heal and grow from things is to like just stop and sit there and like deal with all of your crap. It's like Joe Dispenza always says, like sit in the fire and like sit in the fire. Like that's the way that we can really like pretty much just like transform and alchemize all of that stuff. And it's just like a lot of people, like for me, I didn't have an outlet to like release my emotions into. And so I think like that's why I got like so pent up like that.
Yeah.
And like people who are in music, for example, they'll just, their outlets like music, like they'll just write music or they'll play their instrument or like whatever it is. And I felt like I just didn't have a way to express it. Like I didn't have an outlet for like my pain, you know, I didn't know what it was at that point still.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of just ties into like me getting into personal training. I went from like all of the flexibility that yoga had taught me that then I had wanted to learn like strength and how to build a strong body. And then I got into bodybuilding. And I'm still competing for anyone who might be curious. My first show ever. So I'm not a vegan anymore. I used to be a vegan. My first show ever, I competed as a vegan. And this was like my first time. And I was just like, this is my goal. I want to do it. Competed for my first time as a vegan, and I got 4th place out of like thousands of people.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I just remember like getting backstage and crying, and I was like on such a high from like being on stage, and I was like, I can't believe I just did that. Like I freaking conquered one of my dreams. And I was like, I need to do this again. So then I competed again. I actually had a show in October that just passed in 2019.
Okay.
And I got 2nd place. So
wow, congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's really cool seeing how you evolve and how you can go from being the person I was, thinking like so low of yourself, thinking I can't do anything, always being so hard on myself and doubting myself, to literally transforming myself into like this strong bodybuilder, super powered person.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that those struggles from my past don't still like haunt me. Like, those little things are always kind of going to be there. I still get those little voices in my head. Like, I don't think you ever really fully just like cut off that stuff. Like, it's things that taught you. It's things that made you who you are. So even though you can literally alchemize things and transform who you are from like dark to light, or from feeling weak to being a strong superwoman if you want to be one, those things are always going to be there because those are things that kind of carved you, you know, like into who you like become. And that's why I always tell people I feel like my spirit animal is just like a butterfly, because I've constantly, my life in myself is just like metamorphosis, transformation, birth, like over and over and over again. And I feel like that's just like what life is. You just keep dying, rebirth, and there's always going to be like these cycles that we go through, and it just like can't really be avoided. So I'm just I'm really grateful for like all of that. And as a personal trainer, so I was gonna share with you, like, how did you get into network marketing?
Yeah. I mean, what was the connection there with the personal training into the network marketing now? Like, what made you choose to take that route?
Okay, so as a personal trainer, I was working in a gym here in this little town that I live in. It's called Waterdown, if there's anyone from Canada watching or from Ontario. And so just like a small community gym, and I mean small, not a big box gym. And so I was training my clients, and I'm like, I love what I'm doing because obviously it's in an industry that I love, like obsessed with the gym. I go 5 days a week. I'm constantly training. I love the gym environment. I love helping people reach their goals and seeing them transform physically, mentally, etc.
Yeah.
But I was still like, there needs to be more. And like,
Yeah.
and if you're one of those people who's like me and you feel guilty for wanting more, don't like,
Yeah.
because, and I was that one person, but like, there's nothing wrong with wanting more for yourself. And it can be like materialistic things or like anything that you want. Like, never feel guilty for wanting more. Cause like, you're literally a human that was sent here on earth to like have and experience all of the things that you can, like literally. Right. And so I wanted more, and I wasn't earning the income that I wanted. I was actually struggling. I was like only earning enough to like literally just pay for like the things I own, like where I live and my car and my phone and my groceries. But like, I was like, but I want to travel the world, but I want to help people all over the world. Like, why limit what I can do and all the people I can help and all the value I could add to people's lives to this tiny little community that I live in when I want to help people on like a global scale?
Yeah.
And a lot of people that I look up to, for example, Ed Milet actually is one of them. Freaking love him. And he's all about like maxing out your life and being your best
Yeah.
self. And like, you are put on earth to do something great. And that's just like, everything he says is just like, I'm like, yes, yes. Like, he says everything that like I totally believe in. And like, listening to that also just like empowers me to be like, yeah, I should be maxing out my life. Like, why?
Yeah.
He always says like, why play small? Like, why play small? What does that do for you? Like, you're meant to do more. And I've
Yeah.
always felt that within me. But I just like never knew what it was, right? And so anyways, I was struggling financially. I wanted more for my life. I wanted to help people with their health, and just like have like a platform that I could do that from, but I didn't
Yeah.
know how. Like, I didn't know. I'm like, how do you start a business? What do you do? Like, um how do you build like even a following and all of that
Yeah.
stuff? And that's kind of when I followed Bob Proctor a lot. I'm obsessed with all his YouTube videos. Um, if you don't know who Bob Proctor is, watch the movie The Secret. It's about law of
Yeah.
attraction, and Bob's in it. And one of my favorite quotes he says in that movie is, "If you can see it in your mind,
Hmm.
you will hold it in your hand." And that's literally true for everything I've ever accomplished in life, from the bodybuilding to living like, at West and all of that. Like, those were literally all things that I saw in my mind before like they actually happened. And so I was just like, it's so true. And follow him on Instagram, and I ended up just attracting my mentor actually into my life. His name is Jason. And yeah, I attracted him to my life from like one message on Instagram. And I don't know why, because like sometimes I'm kind of closed off to like getting messages from random strangers, but I don't know why. But um he was just like super friendly and cool, and like I've always just kind of been more of an open person to see what people are about. So we started messaging each other, and then we had like a video call similar to this. And I just like kind of shared my story with him, like I am with you. And he asked me what my goals are, and like he asked me, my favorite question he asked me is, he just said like, Brittany, like what do you want if you had no limits on anything? And if you knew you couldn't fail, he's like what do you want? But like the way that he asked me was just
Hmm.
so profound. And I told him, and I was like, he's like what car do you, like specific questions, like he's like, well, what car do you want to drive, and like how much money do you want to make, and what kind of, like, do you want to live in a house, a condo, do you want to travel? Like, he asked me things that people like that people don't ask you, especially in the job that you work in. Like, no one cares.
Right.
You're out, and no one cares really about your life or goals or dreams, right? And it's like, why don't people ask these questions? And I was on a call with a client like the other day asking them, and he literally couldn't answer. Like, he was like he literally just sat there frozen. He's like, I need to think about that. He's like, I don't even know. And I was just like,
Yeah.
and like that just broke my heart, because it's like, how do you not know? Like, how do you stop dreaming? And like, my whole mantra has always been like, keep dreaming and dream bigger than you do,
Yeah, for sure.
anything is possible. And the only
Yeah.
reason things ever feel like they're not is because your thoughts are limited to what you can do, or your concept of yourself is limited. So Yeah, I got involved with network marketing that way. Jason was in the network marketing industry with a company called Zija International. We just merged with Isogenics, which is a huge company in network marketing. So I'm sure people who are listening have definitely heard of that before. And I've literally been doing this since December, and it's like changed my life. It's connected me with an incredible network with people. And I mean, like, I spoke it into existence. Like, so now I'm connecting with people on a global scale. So I help people all over the world. I'm building my business all over the world. And then the team and the support, that's actually how I met Chris. Like, how crazy is that? We just have this incredible network and support system behind us.
Yeah.
And they're all into like what I'm into, like the personal growth and the development and just bettering yourself and reaching goals and doing better. And they believe in you and like what you're capable of. And people are always going to be there to motivate you when you can motivate yourself and check in on you and, you know, remind you like, what are your goals? Because a lot of people just kind of like forget when they fall into like those slumps again. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just been the most positive environment I've ever been a part of. And so like this quarantine, I lost my PT, my personal training job. And I got laid off, and thank God for my online business, you know, with network marketing, because if it wasn't for this, I would have no other source of income right now. And I've been working away so hard at it, connecting with as many people as possible so that when this pandemic is over, I will not have to ever go back to a 9-to-5 job ever again. Like,
that's
this
awesome.
is it. And I want people to know that, like, they don't teach you this in school,
right?
They're just like, you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you die. Like, no, like that's just like, that's insane to me. There's so much more that you can do. And like the internet is literally moving online. Like, every business that I know, I don't know about you over there, but like every business here has moved online, like literally restaurants, stores, retail, like everything. And I literally think this is the future. I think this is the way it's going. So I'm just so excited to keep growing with Zija and Isogenics and going to events and traveling the world when this is all over, the pandemic, I mean, and just like going to events to be more part of like our network and hanging out with you, Chris, in person. And just like continue to grow the company and help people financially, help people with their health. Like, there's just so much that we can do in this business. And I'm so excited to be able to like share this solution with people.
Absolutely. And so thank you so much for sharing your story. I did write a couple things down. What would you tell someone who doesn't know what they want to do? Kind of like how you were in high school and you're trying to figure out what path, what you wanted to do. What would be some advice you would give them if they're just kind of like, I have no idea what I want to do?
I would say to like, for me, it was like figuring out what I was really passionate about. Cause like I had things I loved. Like if you asked me what I loved in high school, I'd say I like music, I like movies, I like reading. Like that's literally probably what I would have said. But I didn't find like my true passion until I found like yoga. That was passion for me. Like that was just because it changed my entire life and it changed like my world. You know what I mean? On like insane level. Like I was just so passionate about it that I wanted to become a yoga teacher. So like, it's like find something that you have an insane level of passion for. And if you don't know what that is, just be that person that I am, like try a million things, dabble in a million things. Like there's nothing, like what's the worst that can happen is you don't like it or you suck. And then you just try something else.
Move on.
Like, just try as many things as you can until you find that one that you're like, oh my God, I love this so much. I just want to do it every day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I think that's so true because life's too short anyways, and we're here to make an impact, to make a difference. And it's funny because you talk to people and they're like, yeah, I just want to help people. I just want to do it. But like, what are you doing? You're just going to your job. How are you helping? Are you actually helping people? How many people have you helped today? In a grand scheme of things, like, have you reached out to anyone and seen how they're doing? Have you put out anything positive, or are you just going to work, coming home and doing your thing? Like, I think people have good intentions, but I think they're kind of scared to take a leap and do something different that could really change a lot of things. So yeah, I think finding your passion is really important, by just trying different things you might think that you like. And I know you touched a lot on like mental health and overcoming those difficulties, because I think so many people deal with it in some form or fashion, some level, some type. What would like maybe 2 or 3 ways you would suggest someone kind of improve their mental health or their mindset?
Okay, so I would say these are like the top things that I do.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Cool.
everything that's like self-care. So meditation, yoga, cold, and I mean like freezing cold showers. I learned this from
Okay.
off, and it literally 100% breaks your depression and anxiety. Freezing cold showers, breath work, which like if you don't know what that is, you can literally just like YouTube it. Same with meditation. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many free apps for that.
Yeah.
Um, and then like getting out in nature is huge. Getting out in nature, and I don't mean like I'm gonna go for a walk around the neighborhood. No, like literally go to a place where there's trees and walk through the trees and breathe in the air. And when it's sunny outside, like sit in the sunshine and just like getting like a good 20 to 30 minute walk
Yes.
outside just to get fresh air and not be in your
Yep.
house all day long. Really just helps to like clear your mind and listen to something motivational, maybe like a podcast or a motivational video, or someone that you like really admire. Maybe it's like taking a hot bath and lighting some candles and putting some
Mm,
crystals, like I don't know. And maybe try yoga,
yeah.
and don't ever underestimate the power of exercise. Like
Right.
fitness should be the number one thing that doctors prescribe. Like they prescribed me a bottle of medication, took it for like a week. They made me throw up, so I threw the bottle in the garbage. And that's kind of like yoga and exercise number
Yep.
one. Like that'll help you way more than
Yeah. I think,
anything.
yeah, getting active,
Yeah,
it
hundred
will
percent.
change you so much. Yeah.
Gets you way out of your head because you're
Yep.
just focused on what you're doing.
Yeah. And it's just like anything, like if you want to improve, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to go through like the pain, like working out. If you
Oh,
want to
I
build
was like
muscle, if you want to
not
lose weight,
comfortable.
yeah, you're going to be sore. You're going to
Extreme.
feel it,
Yeah.
like straining, trying to get the bar up, and you're going to be feeling it. But
But
like,
it makes you stronger. It's so
yes,
cool because like you're
yep.
strengthening your body,
It's the
but
same as
like
mind.
every rep that you go through that's challenging and you push past it is just making your mind
Yep.
stronger. So the stronger your mind gets,
Absolutely.
the stronger your body gets.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So I like to close out with our guests asking one final question that ties into pencil leadership, the last trait. So pencils are made to leave marks. That's their purpose. And so,
I love
af-
that.
yeah. So after everything's done here on Earth for you, what is it that you want people to see? What mark do you want to leave on the Earth?
That's such a good question. I just want people to know that that like they can, I want people to reach their full potential and to break through everything that like breaks them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause, like that's like the biggest thing, to like know that you're not stuck and to not see yourself as like a limited physical human being. Like you are so much more than that. Experience and explore your like your spirituality and like get in touch with like who you really are.
Mm,
And know that like your potential is like literally like limitless. It's insane like
mm,
what we can do when we really truly like learn how to use our minds and our thoughts
yeah.
properly. You can literally change the world. So I just want people to know that like if you
Awesome.
feel stuck, you know, if you perceive yourself as this limited thing, like there's like so much more to that. So like never underestimate how powerful you are.
I love it. I love that message. I think, yeah, so many people need to hear that is you have so much more potential than what you're letting yourself believe right now. And it all starts in the mind and with yourself. And so, Brittany, thank you again for sharing your story, being on Pencil Leadership, and just leaving so many good nuggets for our audience to take from this.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Oh, it's so nice to have you, or to be here, I guess.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. You taught me, so
You
it's good to
have
be
me.
here.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but yeah, we appreciate it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. See you later.